Hi guys, welcome back. I hope you had an amazing week. We all got sick, but the baby is feeling great, so that's the important part. I will deal with the sniffles and the cough and whatever else as long as she's good. It's really going around, so wash your hands, wear masks, and don't comment about how you don't like masks. Anyway, tonight we're going to be talking about Genene Jones, who I think is one of the most disgusting humans to ever be on this planet. So let's just get into it because there is a lot to cover with this woman. So Genene was born on July 13th, 1950. Genene worked as a beautician before attending nursing school in the late 1970s. She married her high school sweetheart in 1968. They had one child, then they divorced in 1974. They reconciled in 1977 and went on to have another child together. I couldn't find too much information about her first husband online. I don't think I could even find any photos, but his name was James Harvey Delaney Jr. Her ex-fiance, though, he had some things to say about Genene. In interviews, he has said that there were some red flags when they were together. One of them being her fascination with medicine, which I guess you wouldn't think was weird because she was a nurse, so of course she would be fascinated with medicine. But I guess it was to the point where she would make up illnesses about her 3-year-old son just to get attention. So Ron English also had some things to say about Genene's upbringing and her family dynamic. He stated that Genene's father, being a nightclub owner, he was a really famous, infamous type of guy in San Antonio and just a really colorful guy. And he got a lot of attention, and Genene wanted some attention for herself. And then he also stated that one of Genene's brothers accidentally unalived himself while building a pipe bomb in his father's shop, and then her other brother unalived from cancer. And then her father later on also unalived from cancer. Ron stated that Genene also tried to take over his father's care to the point where she was being really adamant about being the one to give him his medication. And he was a heart patient. And so she was just really domineering about it and was like, no, we've got to give him his nitroglycerin now. And it got to the point that Ron was kind of resenting her for it. And then mostly Genene was known to be like, somebody who liked to have fun, who liked to party, tell jokes, was really witty, loved children. Ironically, that was something that she was known for. But she also liked to make up stories, and one of the stories she made up was that she was late to work because there was a shooting and there was a whole SWAT team and she was there, and Ron was basically like, girl, that wasn't even on the news, what are you talking about? And she's like, no, it happened, it just hasn't been on the news yet. And it was just something that Ron kind of brushed off. Ron stated that ultimately the reason that their relationship didn't work out was because he was actually gay. And then that during depositions, Genene stated that Ron was the father of her second child, which is untrue, and that he was unalived in an automobile accident, which is also untrue. So people were calling Ron like, oh my gosh, are you alive? Like, we just saw what happened. What's going on? Type of thing. And there really has never been an explanation for why she would make that story up. From 1981 to 1982, Genene was an LVN at the Bexar County Hospital in the pediatric ICU, where a high number of children passed away under her care. And because the hospital did not want to be sued, they decided instead of firing Genene and doing an actual investigation, that they were just going to get rid of all of their LVNs and only have the ICU be staffed by registered nurses. Genene went on to work at a hospital in Kerrville, Texas as a pediatric nurse. And it was here that one of the doctors became suspicious of her because this doctor found puncture marks in the succinylcholine. And succinylcholine is a paralytic. It's used mainly as a general anesthetic. But the doctor found that there were puncture marks in the bottle, and then it was found that Genene was diluting it with water. So this is where things started to get messy for her because people were starting to figure out what she was doing. Genene claimed that the reason that she was injecting children with this was to create a reason for there to be a pediatric intensive care unit in Kerrville. In 1985, Genene was sentenced to 99 years in prison for unaliving Chelsea McClellan, a 15-month-old who passed away under Genene's care. Later that year, she was sentenced to a concurrent term for nearly unaliving Rolando Santos with an anticoagulant called heparin. Now, Texas had a mandatory early release law due to good behavior, and this almost got Genene out of prison when she was 67 years old. Fortunately, in 2017, a San Antonio prosecutor brought 5 indictments against Genene Jones, and she was set to have trial for the first victim of these 5 indictments in early 2020, but she pled guilty about a month before the trial started, and she pled guilty to the unaliving of Joshua Sawyer. Joshua was 11 months old at the time of his unaliving. As part of the plea agreement, the other 4 cases of Rosemary Vega, Ricky Nelson, Patrick Zavala, and Paul Villarreal were dismissed. Even though those cases were dismissed, the families still got to speak during the sentencing, and Rosemary Vega's mom stated that while Rosemary was recovering from surgery, she witnessed Genene injecting her with something. Now, you wouldn't think twice, especially back then, you wouldn't think twice about a nurse giving your child, a shot. And unfortunately, it was, to this day, an unknown substance that ultimately unalived her. Paul Villarreal's sister Melissa also addressed Genene on behalf of their mother, who had since passed away, and she also addressed her on behalf of Ricky Nelson, who had no living relatives left at the time of the sentencing. In her statement, she said, "I can leave here with a smile on my face because although my brother is in a box, I know that you will take your last pathetic breath in one too, and you will never be able to hurt another baby or child again." Chelsea's mother, Patty McClellan, had passed away before the trial, so her daughter and Chelsea's sister, Kylie, stepped in to support the women and also to speak on her mother's behalf, and also to speak on the behalf of Patrick's mother, Hope Zavala, who was out of town at the time. Genene was sentenced to life in prison, and she will not be eligible for parole until she is about 87 years old. I, along with, I'm sure everybody else, hope that she will be taking her last breath in prison. She is disgusting, and I would even call her a human being. So, that's the story about Genene Jones. And it really makes you think, like, how many people are out there that do stuff like this. And it just makes it really hard to trust anybody. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to be doing any more cases about children because that was super sad. But anyway, I love you guys, and I will see you next week. Comment your thoughts down below.